One Piece chapter 973. So this is a pretty fun chapter, very informative. But after the intro to this chapter, we're seeing them hunting down the scabbards and anyone related to Odin, which makes sense. We knew that they were going to do this because, they did escape from the execution, and it wasn't like, a legitimate deal like what we maybe thought was going to happen, because, if Odin was going to survive the legendary hour, then it was going to be all cool and he was going to let them go. No, he kind of just threw them and they were able to make it away. So now they're hunting them down. And another interesting thing here is that we're seeing, a regular hunting squad. Typically what we've seen of like the beast pirates and everything, they're on like those raptor dinosaur type things. But we're also seeing the numbers chasing them down. The numbers, I think we've only seen one time before this. And even Kawamatsu doesn't know what these things are, such as the readers, because they've only been silhouetted so far. They're like these big demon-y looking things. The numbers, in case you just forget for some reason, they're like, the more powerful members of Kaido's crew, the Beast Pirates. It's like kind of like a deck of cards. Not kind of, it basically is. We have King, who is King, and then Queen, Jack, the Drought, the Plague, the Wildfire. We have them. And then Doflamingo, he presented Joker. That was like his underworld broker name. But also Joker represented the part of the deck that he played to Kaido. And then Kaido, I guess, is just the dealer of the deck or whatever. Or maybe he's the ace. I don't know. But then we have the numbers, for the deck of cards 1 through 10. And then that's what these big demon ogre do. So we get to the point of where we see like Kaido burning down Odin's castle. And he straight up came in contact with like Momonosuke, and he was going to throw him off the top of the tower, but he decided to just throw him back in so that he could burn with Toki and Hiyori. And that brings us to that big moment that we saw years ago, when we first found out about Toki and all of that stuff. It's like almost a panel for panel recreation, except in this frame we're actually seeing Toki's full face, which we didn't see before. It was kind of just silhouetted. And we come to the point of where she's going to send them into the future, and now it makes sense why specifically Kanjuro, Kinemon, and Raizo, because they were the ones who happened to break into Odin's castle and trying to save Odin's family. So she sends them, after explaining to them quickly. And then I guess the explanation as to why Hiyori stayed behind was, I guess, so that in case the plan failed in the future, there would still be like a Kozuki in the, basically left behind in the present. So that, just the bloodline can carry on possibly. I mean, we're not privy to the conversation that Toki had with them. We don't even get to see her using her ability on them, but it just cuts to like Kawamatsu jumping out of the castle with Hiyori, and then he takes her to safety. And then Toki is like going away on a horse here. And this is confirming that Toki didn't go to the future herself. But that brings us to another contentious point here in this chapter. And before we get to like what's going on with Toki, we get some very important flashback exposition here as to Odin talking to Toki about why she came 800 years into the future. And he pretty much confirms it, because Odin's like, you're looking forward too, right? That's why you came this far. You just came a little shorter. If you went 20 more years into the future, then your dream will be, and then they cut it off. So basically, Toki is looking for the reincarnation of Joy Boy, which is, similar to the Naruto plotline, but we're not going to get into that. But, all stories are kind of similar, especially in manga. But, we know that Toki came from the Void Century, and it was all messed up there. That's when, like, the world completely changed and started to form into what it is now. And basically, there was like a premonition, I guess, or it's not really explained, as far as I know, as to how they know 800 years there's going to be like a reckoning within the world, and the D-Clan will finally overcome the Celestial Dragons and the world government and all that stuff. And considering that Odin knows this, I assume that either Joy Boy left this information at Laugh-Tale, letting them know that, like, okay, according to whatever, in 800 years, this is going to happen. And Toki obviously knows the same thing, because I guess, she obviously existed back in that time. And it was probably, I don't know, information passed on to her by someone. And my theory that I've talked about a few times in these chapters is that, I don't know, Joy Boy must have some kind of insane future sight, like observation haki, that allowed him to see into the future, or there was maybe somebody else around at that time, like born with some crazy inherent future sight haki, like Madame Charlie, possibly. I don't know, there's just, they know that this is going to happen at this exact time for some reason, and it probably has something to do with haki. Just taking a guess. Or they just have some kind of other crazy abilities. I'm not really going to get into, like, the origin of the D clan and all that stuff. I know that it probably relates to the moon, because there's a lot of stuff going on with the moon in this chapter, a lot of stuff going on with the moon just in the series in general. But regardless, Joy Boy is the reason, or the Joy Boy reincarnation is the reason why she's gone 800 years into the future looking for her. But like, it's established here, she just was 20 years too short. So that's, of course, why she's sending everyone 20 years into the future, so that they can meet the new Joy Boy, aka Luffy. And then we come to the end of Toki's time in the story, or at least for now, and we see her talking to, like, the people of Wano and stuff, and she's like, you know, this is all gonna end, just, you know, give it a little bit more time, 20 years, this eternal night will end, yada, yada, yada. And then we see her just, I don't know what happens here, because we just kind of see the panel where it's like, poof. I mean, I don't know what this sound effect is implying. I guess it's like something happens to her. So either Toki has gone into the future herself, which I'm sure some people are speculating here, which remains to be seen if that's true, because we haven't seen Toki, or at least I assume that we haven't, unless there's some kind of trickery going on where she's like switching in between identities with Hiyori. They're both playing Kumurasaki. I don't know if that's the case yet, but another possibility is that this is just Toki dying, because maybe her using her fruit powers, like sending multiple people into the future, like drains her completely to the point of death, maybe? Or maybe she just gets shot here. I don't know, because we see this dude in the one panel over to the side, one of the Beast Pirates, he's like cocking his gun. So I'm guessing he just kills her here, possibly. I'm assuming that she's dead, but I mean, it's also possible that she's in the future. But anyway, that brings us to the major reveal of this chapter, something that I would say 70% of the community knew at this point, and that is Kyoshiro is Denjiro. So the anime intro, as I've talked about many times, and we all know it, has spoiled this, because we saw him portrayed along the scabbards in the intro to Wano, which basically showed that he was, you know, obviously one of the scabbards. He was basically Denjiro, the only one that was unaccounted for. And the explanation for him looking so different is because the anger changed him. It transformed him into Kyoshiro, which basically gave him a more pointed, downslope nose, a more angular jaw. His eyes became more slanted, and I guess his skin complexion changed and his hair color changed. I don't know, stress does that to people sometimes. I mean, obviously not this extreme, but it is manga after all. There could also be like a more nuanced explanation to this. It could have something to do with some kind of supernatural power with Ashura. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that stuff. That's like crazy theory territory. I'm just going to say it's possible that there's some kind of Ashura force, and that's how Zoro's able to do his transformation. I don't know. You know, come to your own conclusion. But it's also revealed that he is the Witching Hour boy. Something that we also kind of knew, because it was revealed in the flashback that Denjiro liked collecting money to give it back to the poor people of Wano and stuff like that. So then when we found that out, we assumed, okay, so I guess that means that Denjiro, who is also Kyoshiro, is also the Witching Hour boy. And also, you know, Kyoshiro, Denjiro, playing this role all of this time, you know, pretending to be an Orochi stan, being loyal to him, also explains how Kumurasaki, you know, Hiyori was able to survive that sequence because, you know, he was just protecting her. And the explanation as to why it looked like he was cutting her, but he didn't, it's because Denjiro is one of the 9 scabbards. He's like a master samurai swordsman. He's super powerful. Obviously, they all are, in varying degrees, of course. But, you know, if he wants to cut her and make it look like he cut her but didn't cut her, he could do that. I mean, if Kinemon can cut explosions and all that stuff, then, you know, Kyoshiro, who appears to be on the level of Ashura Doji at this point, I'm just taking a guess, can probably do, you know, greater feats of power than that, and that explains that. And also we have to remember that this means that Kyoshiro is obviously going to be a part of the alliance taking down or going against Orochi and Kaido, so he's going to be included in that. He's in charge of the capital right now, So that's going to bring us to the present, and that's going to give the Straw Hats and the Alliance like a leg up here, because now they have an inside man in control of one of the power points. So then we come to the end of the chapter, and it says they hid their game well until today. So does that mean that we're back in the present? Does that mean that the next chapter is going to take place with us seeing what's going on, meaning the flashback is over? I don't know. I hope so. I can't wait to see this battle start, and I know everyone else can too, but that's pretty much it for the review. Let me know what you thought about this one. If you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A. If you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.